The regular meeting of the Annapolis City Council on Monday, September 11th, 2023 will be called to order at 7 p.m. At this time, please join us for the invocation given by Alderman O'Neill, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Welcome back from our month of break. I will start by saying, in light of the darkness of today's date, I ask for a moment of silence as we reflect on the heroes, the people we lost, and the changes of that day that we have all witnessed. Thank you very much. I'm going to go on to say, as we gather under the open sky of ideas, let us invoke the spirit of clarity. May our minds be free from the clutter of distractions, enabling us to see our objectives with the unwavering focus of a stargazer. Through discussions bathed in lucidity, let us chart a course that's guided by our collective vision. Let this invocation of clarity illuminate the path to thoughtfulness, thoughtful decisions, purposeful actions, that will bind us in a common purpose that transcends our differences. Thank you all for joining us this evening.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes, sir. Mayor Buckley?
Here.
Alderwoman Tierney?
Here.
Alderwoman O'Neill?
Present.
Alderwoman Pendell Charles?
Here.
Alderwoman Finlayson?
Present.
Alderman Shannon Meyer?
Present.
Alderman Gay? Alderman Savage?
Present.
Alderman Arnett?
Present.
Thank you.
Present.
Mr. City Attorney, please present the first item on the agenda.
Yes, sir. The first item is approval of the agenda.
This time I need to obtain a motion to approve the agenda. It's on? Yep.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes, sir. Mayor Buckley?
Here.
Alderman Savage?
Aye.
Alderman Arnett?
Aye.
Alderwoman Tierney?
Aye. But that was an aye, right?
Yes.
Yeah. You confused me.
Alderwoman O'Neill? Aye. Alderman Pendell Charles?
Aye.
Alderman Finlayson?
Aye.
Alderman Shannon Meyer?
Aye.
Thank you.
As you can see, we're out of practice. We had a month rest, so thank you for your patience. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Yes, sir. The next item on the agenda is ceremonial items, beginning first with ID 13423. Annapolis Police Department presents annual Gone Fishing Awards.
Now, I think Miss Patty might not be here. Is anyone here representing Miss Patty on the fishing awards? Anybody?
Oh.
Okay, we're going to move on to the next thing and see if they come in behind that. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next on the agenda.
The next ceremonial item is ID 13923, citation, Annapolis Blues postseason recognition.
All right, let's get some blues people up front here. Let's hear it for our champions. Some more acting roles together. This is on the Academy Awards this year. So we're going to turn you guys around. Do you want to read the citation?
You can read the citation.
Okay. So we're going to face everybody here. And I am going to say, on behalf of the residents of the City of Annapolis, we're pleased to confer upon you the City Council citation in recognition of the inaugural season of the professional soccer in Annapolis. Congratulations on a terrific season with head coach Colin Harriott. The opening season included 5 home games at Navy Stadium and 6 away games With the Blues performance, Annapolis residents had visitors wanting more. With a 10-1 record in our regular season play, the team broke National Premier League soccer attendance records and advanced to the East Regional Final, which I know you guys are going to crush on the next one. We look forward to your sophomore season of play right here in Annapolis. We'll see you on the pitch. It's been a great addition to the city. We can't wait for you guys to get bigger and bigger. Big round of applause for these guys. And I'm going to hand And if you want to say a couple of words, we'd love to hear from you guys if you want. I won't let him say it in Scottish because no one can understand him.
I'll let Colin speak as well, too. My name is Fred Mathis. I'm the general manager of the team, and certainly I was just kind of the figurehead and trying to stay out of the way of these guys, both Colin and Elton, our captain over here, that were on the pitch, Stephen Hooper, Hiram Wainwright, and then a whole staff of interns and other workers for us did a tremendous job this year in putting this team together, both on and off the pitch, as we say. And as the mayor said, record attendance. Both at our very first home game of the year in the regular season, 8,368 people, which we bested again when we won the Mid-Atlantic Championship at the end of July with 8,400 plus people, almost 8,500 there. And then Coach Harriet putting the winning team on the field, lifting the trophy at the end of that, just made it a special year. And as our announcer calls it, a moment of magic. And we counted not just the final game that we won as the moment, but the entire season really was a special thing, a special event for us all. So thank you again for this proclamation. Colin, would you like to say anything on the team?
No, you cover.
Okay, we're good.
I hand it to you.
Colin, come on. And Colin has coached tons of kids in this region. He's really transformed this area. So.
Yeah, look, for me, I think the real success was bringing the community, the city, the team all together. That was, for me, I understand winning games of soccer and trophies, etc. That's a big piece of it. That's kind of my remit. But seeing the city and the team connect and what we brought to the city in terms of the atmosphere and the culture, it was a joy to watch and see that progress. Over the summer, we're really excited about what we can bring for 2024. So, again, thanks for the support.
Thank you. If you were watching that on the TV, there were subtitles when Colin spoke.
That's
I'll
hilarious.
bust on my accent.
So Mayor, we have some gifts
Great. For the council, sure. Yeah. Head over you can hand them to them, sure.
That's so sweet. He knows I'm going up for George, does he? Gavin, does he know I'm going up for George with
Still have that to
him?
be, mate.
I don't know. I'll tell him. That is so kind. Thank you so much. Gavin, I'm coming up on the next one, George, the mail care. Maybe I'll wait a while for them.
Mr. City Attorney, please present the next on the agenda.
Yes, sir. The next item is citation ID 14023, George R. Smith, downtown Annapolis, USPS mail carrier for 30 years.
All right, George,
He's
come
here.
on up.
Just so y'all know, I don't have no gifts. Already, somebody should have told me that.
Oh, no, this is just a picture of it. So glad you could make it, George.
One missing.
All right, George, we love our mail, and thank you so much, mate. We truly appreciate you. And would you like to read it or you?
Can I read it?
Yeah,
Because
for sure. Oh, this one.
it's so beautifully written by
Yeah.
Mitchell. Thanks. Do I need a microphone?
I think you would need the mic. Let's get you on the Yeah, thank you.
I got you.
It's also nice to hear it in the wake of my colleague Alderman O'Neill's comments about, what's important. And in this case, it really is our community. So, On behalf of the residents of the City of Annapolis, we are pleased to confer upon you this City Council citation in recognition of your service to the nation, the state of Maryland, and the residents of the City of Annapolis. Thank you. You served your country in the U.S. Army for 4 decades. You worked as a letter carrier with the United States Postal Service for 30 years, retiring on July 29th of this year. You worked a special route in Annapolis, one that didn't have a lot of mailboxes on post. Each day you went door to door, often personally meeting with residents and their dogs. In your last few weeks on the job, you even hand-delivered written cards thanking people for letting you be their letter carrier. George, you believe that your life was meant to be one of service. You have delivered on that promise to yourself and your fellow Americans and Annapolitans. You are a true altruist and patriot. We thank you and wish you the best in your retirement. So we have... And this is a picture of you, and you are very cold in this picture.
It was a real cold day. That stopped me. I said, I gotta go.
Yeah.
That's a great picture too.
It is a great picture. But oh, but yeah. And George would like to say a few words. To no surprise.
Okay. I'm gonna take a picture. She can give it to me. Okay, I'm gonna be quick because I know everybody want to go home. First of all, I want to say the Annapolis community has been awesome. I mean, I deployed a couple of times, and my customers, they always sent me care packages and stuff. They made sure I was taken care of. They always asked about me, make sure that things were staying in order for me. My postal family's back here. A lot of people don't know it, but you guys can stand up so they can see who you are. Postal people, please stand up. So I want them to know who you are. And a lot of people don't know it, but during this COVID, when COVID came, we kept working. We never stopped. We weren't one of them fortunate ones that got a chance to work from home. We had to keep the grind on. So again, I want to thank Annapolis, my friends, my customers. They were like family to me. I had the military family, then I had my postal family. And they've been awesome. I mean, truly awesome. I miss them already. I'd love to give you this award back and come back to work, but I ain't gonna do it. I'm gonna enjoy these 40-some years that I've been in the federal service and just relax a little bit. See, y'all didn't know that, did you? I knew that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, ready?
If you guys see this gentleman here, I'm gonna be good to him. You're gonna take my spot.
He hasn't gotten bitten by a few dogs.
Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Yes, sir. The next ceremonial item is ID 14323, citation 60th anniversary commemoration of the March on Washington.
Do we have representatives for that? Please come forward. Going to get a picture here. March on Washington people. Anybody from that group? All right, come on through. Yay.
City of Annapolis citation. On behalf of the residents of the City of Annapolis, we're pleased to confer upon you this City Council citation in recognition of your work in organizing the 60th anniversary commemoration of the 1963 March on Washington. Planning events like this is always a coordinated effort of selfless individuals. We thank you personally for dedicating your time and energy to making the event a success. We also thank you collectively for putting together an informative and educational program that stirred memories from some while offering a new way to look at the world for others. From the march to the speeches to the program and all the component pieces, you made it look effortless. Thank you. Presented today under our hands, the Annapolis City Council citation.
Did an amazing job. It was a boiling hot day that day, and you all hung in there. So
Dave?
who's the
I wasn't expecting to be up here. I just came here for support. Grogan, I was actually in charge of the security, so I guess I'm here tonight on behalf of our convener, Mr. Carl Snowden. I will say this, I want to thank you, and I thank the chairs and all the committee for this, because I've got experiences putting on events, and people have no idea what goes into this. I mean, this was a year-long planning, preparations, dealing with all the different personalities. See, I already know all the different personalities. So I was moved, and I'll be quite candid. Ever since that event, something has charged me. So those of you all who follow me on Facebook, you may see a little bit more fire in me lately, because something at that march really touched me. So I want to thank you all, and I want to thank you all for welcoming us, security. We did everything we could. I hope everyone felt safe, and I just thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Would you like to say something?
I'd just like to say, my name is Carmen Jackson, and I came up from Frostburg, Maryland. And I made the trip because I was at the original March on Washington. And my mother helped put it together. She organized a train from Chicago to DC, and we called it the Freedom Train. And it was one big party. The kids, the train stopped no place, so there's no place we could get stolen or taken. We went from car to car having fun. People would feed us. The kids slept up under the seats. The adults slept on the seats. And we just partied all the way here. And as an adult, I said, well, where did we sleep? My sister said, we got back on the train and we slept on the train, because she was older than I was, so she remembered that. But I remember the work that went into it and the work that Dr. Martin Luther King put into it. He trained us on what to do for that march, literally in our living rooms. So I could not have missed it. Thank you.
It was a very hot day when we were marching here in Annapolis. I can only imagine what it was. Just 60 years ago, I was dressed, because I portray Mrs. Coretta Scott King, and I don't know how she did it, because I was praying to God that I could get through this march. You know, having a hat, everything I wore that day was vintage, other than my shoes. I did have on tennis shoes, but trust me, all the marches that these folks have done in their lifetime, I don't know how they survived, because I barely survived the march myself. But it was amazing having all the young people and the people in the streets waving to us. Some did not know what was happening that day, and we had to tell them what was happening. And we told them to watch the news and to read the newspaper, and they would learn more about it. But it was amazing to participate in it again. Thank you so much for your support.
Marched all the way from the stadium. Attorney, please present the next on the agenda.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, petitions, reports, and communications, beginning with update from the mayor.
It's been a whole month, so this will be a little bit longer today. So good evening. I trust everyone had an enjoyable August break. Welcome back. I want to start out tonight with condolences to the family and friends of Trayon Hunt, who was senselessly killed in the Bywater neighbourhood on Friday. He was 18, a recent graduate of Annapolis High. I'm sure many of you saw pictures of him on social media over the weekend, all dressed up for prom earlier this year. Seeing those images drives home the tragedy and trauma that gun violence continues to cause in our community. Within a year, Trayon's family celebrated his prom and high school graduation, and then, in an instant, it was all taken away. To Trayon's parents and family, to his friends and classmates, I want to say on behalf of every person who works for the city, including this council, we are so sorry for your loss. Many of us who work here in the city knew Trayon. We are all heartbroken. This tragedy followed hard on the heels of another. At the end of July, 2 other teens were also shot in Bywater. One survived, and the other, Robert Clark, lost his life. It has to stop. Parents and friends, we need your help. If you need help, please reach out. The Anne Arundel Community Warm Line is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That number is 410-768-5522. If you keep guns in your home, the Health Department recently introduced a free gun lock program. You can pick those up at the county library, no questions asked. We have instituted violence interruption programs in the city and county. In Annapolis, we put more officers on the street this summer and stepped up policing efforts. We hired social workers, and we are engaging with schools and partner mobile crisis intervention. It is true that Annapolis police are good at solving these cases. Under Chief Jackson, we have almost 100% success rate in solving crimes and taking offenders off the street. This shooter will also be caught and will likely serve time in prison, another life destroyed. The trauma that gun violence is inflicting on our community is an epidemic across America. Annapolis is not immune. If you have time, reach out to federal elected officials and let them know your desire to see strengthened gun and trafficking and straw purchasing laws. We need to get guns out of the wrong hands. Gun violence is tearing communities apart. Imagine being 8 years old, stepping off the bus in your neighborhood to police cars and medical examiner vans. This is trauma on top of trauma on top of trauma. We have to find a way to make it stop. I'd like to take a moment of silence for the victims, for Trayon and Robert. May their memories be a blessing to all who knew and loved them. Thank you. Next, I want to speak directly to city staff. This includes first responders, Annapolis police detectives, crime lab technicians, firefighters, and paramedics who attend these incidents, as well as our social work team and members of my staff who work to support families and communities in the aftermath of tragedy, along with other city employees who knew these young people, either because of work or through family connections. Annapolis is a small town at heart. We see you. I see you. I witness firsthand how difficult the work is, and thank you for your compassion and your commitment in the most difficult of circumstances. As a reminder, the city has an employee assistance program. Our human resource office can assist in arranging counselling, grief services, and similar benefits, both in the immediate aftermath or at a later date. Annapolis Fire and Police have crisis intervention, and APD has trauma response training and benefits. Please reach out to HR or your supervisor if you need help. And thank you. Also on this day, 9/11 has been 22 years since the terrorist attack on America that killed 2,977 people and injured thousands at the World Trade Center, Pentagon, and Somerset County in Pennsylvania. That was another day that first responders became heroes and ordinary people were forced to deal with extraordinary trauma and grief. We will never forget. Tonight, I would also like to thank staff and residents who recently worked to resolve another incident, a significant sewer overflow that occurred last week in August, resulting in a spill of untreated sewage into the headwater of Spark Creek. I want to thank neighbours in the heritage community and volunteer water quality monitors at Spark Creek Conservancy for alerting us to the smell and the unusual high bacteria, helping us pinpoint the area where the spill occurred. Our teams were quickly on site to make repairs and to notify the appropriate county and state agency. When our crews arrived, initial evaluations indicated a clogged line with overflow. When this happens, our crews regularly pull out all kinds of things from sewer pipes, from paper towels to grease rags. In this case, it was a mop head. DPW would like to remind the public that there is a role for residential and commercial customers to play in preventing sewer overflows. Don't put stuff down the drain that doesn't belong. It is the role you can play in helping our environment. Over the past month, the planning and zoning staff have been out on a roadshow at venues around the city presenting the 2040 Annapolis Ahead Comprehensive Plan, which has been in development since 2020. I want to thank our Chief of Comprehensive Planning, Eric Leshinsky, for his tireless work in listening, writing, revising, and for the thoughtful and thorough way he has conducted the consultation process. I want to make three things clear because there's been some confusion. One, the Maryland Department of Planning requires, by law, the City of Annapolis to update the comprehensive plan every 10 years. This is not optional. Two, comprehensive plans are not just about types and locations of housing. These documents guide resource allocation, including hospitals, schools, roads, public safety, and even things like grocery stores and priority needs for each community. They are all about making efficient use of resources in guiding where and how development, revitalization, and preservation will occur. Three, this plan guides future development. If you own property or live in the city, the plan doesn't require you to do or change anything. If there is a vacant lot or land under consideration for redevelopment, the plan guides how properties should be used in the future. There is still time to learn more and share your thoughts. There is a meeting tomorrow at Pip Moyer Recreation Centre from 6 to 8 p.m. You can provide feedback by email, review comments online. Please search Annapolis Ahead 2040 at the city's website, www.annapolis.gov. The next step in the process is for the Planning Commission to finalise their report and send it to the Council for adoption. That will kick off a new phase of comments. I look forward to hearing from you as we move forward for final consideration. Coming up later this week, September 15th to 17th is Rosh Hashanah, and the following week, September 24th to 25th, is Yom Kippur. For all of our Jewish friends and neighbours, may you have a good and sweet new year. Please note that due to the high holidays, our next council meeting has been pushed from our regular time slot on Monday 25th to Tuesday the 26th. And to finish up, I want to let you know about a couple of fun events that are coming up. This weekend is the Singer-Songwriter Festival, taking place with dozens of artists playing venues around the city. 2 shows at City Dock, including Blondie and Thomas Dolby and Leanne Rimes. Lots of free music as well. Next Wednesday, tune into City TV for the upcoming City Dock Action Committee presentation at 5 p.m. on Wednesday, September 20th. That will be archived on the city's YouTube for anytime viewing. On September 23rd is the 33rd annual Kunta Kinte Heritage Festival at City Dock with food and live music, children's tent, genealogy, and more. They've also got the community tent with wills and estate planning, 4 gardening tips, family yoga, healthy cooking, and African dance, and tons of music. It's a great time, tons of great food. Hope to see you all there. Thank you all for listening to that long one. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Yes, sir. The next item is reports by committee.
Alderman Schneidermeyer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Economic Matters will not be meeting this month. We got bumped for the City Dock Action Committee. Keep an eye on your emails. We may try to reschedule it at the end of this month or at the beginning of October and shift a couple of things around.
Thank you. Alderman O'Neill.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. The Transportation Committee meeting will be meeting on Wednesday to discuss continuation of the comp plan discussion that we started in July, as well as a representative from Premium Parking will be on hand to answer questions from the committee in regards to how Hillman Garage has gone so far. And thank you very much. I'm sorry, that is at 4 o'clock on September 13th.
Thank you. Alderman Tierney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just as an aside, is the city going to send out something on the CDAC presentation on the 20th? Because people don't know about that. Will we send something out for the City Dock Action Committee presentation?
I think we've sent some out, but we can definitely
Thanks. Sorry to
we've sent a lot
go
out on
rogue
that.
you.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So the Finance Committee met September 7th, and we reviewed SA 3-24, gave a favorable recommendation. You'll see that on tonight's agenda. We gave a favorable recommendation to SA 4-24, and that will be on tonight's agenda. We did postpone action on SA 5-24 because we did not have representation on the justification of the grant. And we gave a favorable recommendation to SA 6-24, speaking of crime, which is a yearly grant given by the Governor's Office of Crime Control and Prevention. We recommended favorably FT 1-24, a fund transfer. And then Director Dickinson was kind enough to present to us and answer questions from the committee. Our next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, September 20th at 10:30 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Finlayson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Rules and City Government Committee met on the 8th of September. We responded to 3 recommendations, 1 to Arts and Public Places, 2 to the Planning Commission, and gave favorable recommendations for each. We also received the calendar, the yearly grant calendar from Art and Public Places, and we received the rules and procedures for the Annapolis Conservancy Board. Our role is simply to accept those reports. Addressing the legislation, CA 223, which is Charter Amendment to the Management Information Technology Office name change, received a favorable recommendation, as did 018 on the same subject, and on the redistricting and revised election wards boundaries, we gave a unanimous recommendation to the city's the committee's recommendations. Our next meeting will be on Friday, October 6th at 1 o'clock here in council chambers, and all are invited. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Savage.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Next week's regularly scheduled Environmental Matters Committee meeting has been canceled due to scheduling conflicts with the committee members. So we're looking to reschedule the last week of September. So stay tuned for the date. At that meeting, we'll be continuing our conversation about the comp plan, talking about the recommended policy goals, as well as getting a presentation from staff about the tree canopy goal. We'll probably have some other legislation, but that's all I know for the moment. So I'll keep you posted. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Gay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The next meeting of the Housing and Human Welfare Committee meeting will be September the 18th at 6:30 p.m. here in Council Chambers. We'll be discussing and we'll have present the Admiral Oaks Property Management Team and their the ownership team as well, follow up from our last meeting. And then we also will have the Housing and Community Development Equity Commission come forward so we can wrap up the rental rehabilitation program and get that out for landlords. So, yeah.
Thank you. Alderman Pindell-Charles.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The public silencing of a City of Annapolis elected official in 2023. I was notified on September 5th, 2023 of a virtual Zoom Alcoholic Beverage Control Board meeting on September the 6th regarding Lighthouse Liquors and the transference of a liquor license by a new tenant. This Ward 3 establishment and the surrounding property in this primarily Black and brown community of Parole has had a plethora of well-documented problems for many years emanating from the store, including direct engagement with our public safety team, especially our police department and our Office of Emergency Management. As such, complaints from the police department numbered 91. Yes, 91 since September 2022, within just a one-year span of time. I exchanged several emails with the new tenant's attorney on September 6th, the day of the meeting, about these problems, as well as the two major cleanups, one by the mayor and his staff and team in 2023, and one citywide with the mayor, me, staff, and volunteers on Greenscape Day in 2021. I made it very well known that I wanted to appear before allowed to attend the ABC board meeting on September the 6th. However, after documented text during the meeting, not only was I not allowed to speak at this public meeting, but I was not even let into this public meeting, nor was there any acknowledgement of my presence in my trying to get into this public meeting. And some of the information presented by the attorney to the board regarding the email exchange with me was not totally accurate and arguably could be considered a mischaracterization. Imagine someone talking about you publicly and you have no immediate opportunity to clarify what has been said immediately and publicly at a public meeting. This board meeting was in fact simply a webinar. With just a few minutes from the board, the meeting was over, and so was the vote in less than 25 minutes. The attorney indicated to me in the email exchange and on the record that they are most willing to work with the community in solving these public safety issues and other major challenges and problems. Should I believe this at this point? You be the judge. Since when has a City of Annapolis elected official been barred and banned from appearing before a city board, which consists of non-elected officials, not even let into a meeting, and therefore totally silenced as well? An elected official who was voted to represent 5,000 residents and over 700 businesses. This is unconscionable. This is appalling. This cannot be tolerated ever again. And to my colleagues, this could happen to you as well. I plan to immediately pursue any course of action against this specific action and against this practice so that it never ever happens again. And I plan to pursue any legislation to make sure that this doesn't ever happen again. This is a public safety matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. City Attorney, please present the next on the agenda.
Yes, sir. The next item is comments by the general public.
During comments by the general public, you may not speak on items that are scheduled for public hearing this evening. And there are quite a lot of them. You may not speak, and there will be separate hearing for allowing cigar lounges to serve alcohol beverages, for business license tax regulation, creation in the arts establishment district, alcohol beverage code technician corrections, issuance of general obligation bonds and bond anticipation notes, and public water access at Wells Cove. They all have their own separate public hearing, so you will be called up to speak when we have the separate public hearing for those ones. Anything else outside of that, please come forward. The first person signed up to speak is Marianne Dillon. Please come forward, state your full name and address.
Okay, now I'm ready. Thank you, Mayor Buckley. Thank you, older people. My name is Mary Ann Dillon. I live at 10,002 Parkwood Drive in Bethesda, Maryland. But I'm Executive Director of Housing Initiative Partnership, which is a nonprofit part owner of the Town Courts apartment community that abuts the Lighthouse Wine and Spirits that Alderwoman Pindell Charles was just speaking about. We're very proud of Town Courts. It's been around for about 2 years. It's a beautiful community, lots of families, lots of kids that live there. The property we have has an easement on it for a forest conservation area and also a public bike trail that goes through the property. Unfortunately, because of the Lighthouse Wine and Spirits, there's a lot of hanging out, there's a lot of vagrancy, and people hanging out in the parking lot there, and they wander onto the forest conservation. I know the mayor is well aware of this because he spent a whole day with us doing cleanup a couple months ago, and I'm ashamed to say that it looks just as bad now as when we were there a couple months ago. There's excessive litter, a lot of hanging out. Our children have to walk past all this stuff when they go to the bus in the morning. They use that bike path to go to West Street to go to the bus. The new owners from this hearing last week are considering cutting their hours, are considering adding fences. They stated that they would no longer sell singles. And I'm hoping that when this comes to City Council that there are some further measures that you can take to enforce that rather than making it elective for the new owners. And I really appreciate Alderwoman Pindell Charles and her fiery words and spirit and her commitment to the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up is Donna Allen.
Good evening, everyone. Mayor Buckley and all members of the council. My name is Donna Allen. I'm a current resident at Town Courts, Townhomes and Flats that is located behind the shopping center where the Lighthouse Liquors is located. I've only been a resident of Annapolis for about 1 year and 9 months, and I have greatly, enjoyed being a member of the community and getting to know everyone. So has my family. I have a family, and since here, have noticed the traffic that increased through Town Courts, the actual physical community, during the summer months to and from the liquor store, Lighthouse Liquors. Some inebriated traffic as well. It's drawn more and more people to the private community path that me and my family use for shopping within the community, some sitting and drinking on the path. I've been approached by individuals sitting outside the area surrounding the liquor store. And it's just become a horrible presentation of a family community. The store managers do not know if customers are trouble or not, but allow them to sit outside of the store as well. Beer cans and liquor bottles are trashed on West Street, and the private community path constantly. My community is full of families, and we all should not have to be subject to surrounding riffraff from the Lighthouse Liquor Store. I hope this is taken into serious consideration while deciding on hours, as well as the need for maintaining the premises and the security of the community. Thank you.
Thank you. One question, Donna. Alderman Pindell Charles.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Allen and Ms. Dillon, you all remember the ribbon cutting that we had about 1.5 years ago for the naming of the street, and our county executive was there, and he made some remarks that were very profound and indicated he goes to a lot of ribbon cuttings for certain housing communities throughout the entire county. And what he said about Town Courts was, this was the type of community that he thought was perfect for workforce and those types of communities and residents, and said that was the only one he had seen that really fit the bill, that really was done professionally and well done, and we're very proud. Do you remember those comments that he made?
I do recall the comments. I actually was holding your phone and everything while you were taking photos as well. So yes, I definitely remember the comments. And the community the residents are working, work-class people, families that love the community as well, and have even put a hand and taken a hand in making sure that it's maintained. The surrounding area, though, when it, affects the safety of the community, when I'm a parent of a 9-year-old and an 18-year-old, it does, in fact, cause things to change. And I'm grateful for your comments, because I think that moving towards change, a positive change, will help town courts turn the surrounding community into an area where families would want to be.
Thank you so much. You and Ms. Dillon.
So Dawn, just one other comment, Alderman
Just
Gay.
quickly, I think the first speaker, Ms. Dillon, I would encourage you to attend the Housing and Human Welfare Committee meeting. This, to me, sounds, obviously it's housing, but it's also human welfare. I think in particularly, you're talking about a problem of substance abuse, it seems like, and that's never appropriate. At least I don't think in regards to hardcore public safety. Is something about, human welfare, providing maybe some sort of, literature like you've spoken about in the past, but also extending a branch maybe in regards to like crisis response or something there for a day. And I'd be really, really happy to work on that with you, because it's an issue with the Robinwood liquor store. So I'd be happy to work with you on that.
Thank you, Alderman Gay. Chief Simmons is here, and I know they've made a variety of visits to that area and have done a number of things. We're not going to put them on the spot tonight, but certainly we all can work together towards that end. Thank you so much to all my colleagues for your support.
Thank you. Next up, Mike Dye.
Mike Dye, 1315 Hawkins Lane in Ward 3, Mayor and Council. As many of you may know, although I wonder if there's some that still don't know, there was a terrible spillage of over 300,000 gallons of sewage into Spa Creek, much of it flowing right behind my house. In fact, it was my neighbor on Thursday, August 24th, who alerted the city to sewage bubbling up around our little tributary, and the Spa Creek Conservancy for discovering bacterial levels 100 times normal that morning in the main tributary. I actually didn't learn about this until I got home to a terrible smell, and only my neighbor was able to give me any details that evening. Over the weekend, I asked around and slowly learned more, including the temporary fix that DPW put in to bypass the pipe break. But it wasn't until Tuesday, August 29th, 5 days later, that we heard officially and broadly what had occurred and that we should avoid contact with water. Now, I get that it was the last week of August, and I applaud the workers who were probably knee-deep in the worst stuff in the world. But what was the existing communication plan? For that matter, what was the emergency plan? When did you all know about this other than the smell? Why did I have to contact the newspaper about this? The lack of urgency apparent from the city on many topics affecting residents, like crime, has been noticed for some time, and on this ecological disaster, we see it again. How many times are we lectured about our lifestyles and how much our leaders spend on cleaning up the bay, and then actual sewage starts flowing directly into Spa Creek when no one seems to be really curious? Will there be an after-action report and a public discussion about the next steps for the next time that something like this happens? Just getting the story out was hard enough.
Thank you. Alderman Savage. Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just, I would thank you for bringing this to our attention again. I know some of us have looked into this during our August recess, but it's a good reminder. I would like to get this added to the next Environmental Matters Committee meeting so we can get a report from Public Works as far as what happened, what the response was, what kind of improvements can be made. because there's a lot of information around this incident. So maybe we can put together more of a detailed report for the rest of the council coming out of that if people want to know.
Appreciate it.
Alderman Pindell Charles.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Dye, for bringing that to us this evening. And thank you, Alderman Savage. Whatever you need for me to do, just let me know.
Alderman Finlayson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you, Mr. Dye, for bringing this to our attention. And I see Ms. Vicky writing copiously over there, because I think we need to know what the process is for notifying the community when there is such an incident. And I don't think it can wait. I think we need to know what that is as soon as possible and let the community expect to hear when there is such an incident. Any sort of spill, but particularly when they're being told not to use their water.
Well, touching the water, this wasn't actually drinking it. But,
Okay, well,
yeah.
touching, drinking.
I'm just saying it,
Yeah.
just to be accurate here.
Okay.
More accurate than
But-
what I was hearing that very same day, but yes.
Yeah, but either way, we need a process in place that we know will be implemented immediately when
Yeah.
something occurs.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
And the process was followed. As soon as we were notified about the break, notice went out about that, but we will get a report to you, okay?
After 5 days?
But we notified on the city website, it's not 5 days, that's not true.
Okay.
Right?
No.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Alderman Tierney, and its infrastructure, and we replaced multiple broken pipes in this city throughout the year, probably close to 1,000, so.
Yeah, I had constituents as well concerned, and Director, Acting Director Burr Vogel did write, of course, that the creek was safe, and gave me some DOH website recommendations, but he did say, and I thought this was important to know, the Spa Creek Conservancy website is a great resource. They post test results weekly, and that website is https spacreek.net. Well, spacreek.net. So that's good information to have. I thought that was worth sharing.
Thank you. Alderman Savage?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to follow up real quick. So a few things. This was an enormous spill. And just based on what I've learned in my conversations with our public information officer, she was on top of getting the notice out. There was a problem as far as, I think, the city not knowing how bad it was until a certain period of time passed. And so those are one of the things we want to look into, is why didn't the city realize it was this large for a while. Once they realized it was large, they got the notice out as required. But all that said, I know our acting director of Public Works has acknowledged that I think he's seen where there are some improvements that are needed in that whole process. So that's one of the things that I think he'll be working on and that the committee is going to be looking at.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Pindell Charles? Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not trying to throw anyone under the bus. I was not aware of it until the residents told me. And my suggestion was, we do have a certain protocol within police department when there is, say, a shooting, that there's certain protocols followed amongst the council persons. And I was suggesting that we use the same protocol. If it's in your ward, then we get some sort of text like we normally do. I think that's enough to ask. But like I said, I'm not trying to throw anybody on the bus, but I was totally unaware of it, totally.
But you would understand that we don't walk the sewage pipes of the city.
No, we
as soon
don't.
as we found out there was a break, we went immediately to it and we rectified it and we worked on it. And then as we were working on it, we found out the magnitude of the break, and the city worked hard to correct it, right? It's a terrible situation, but you don't know these things until people let you know in the neighborhood. So it's not like we have alarms on our sewage system that say, you know, we followed the process, and the process was
But
followed.
we do get something from DPW if there's a pipe burst that goes out to us, and we get that, and we know that right away. So that's all I'm saying.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Next up is Philip Potato. Thank you.
Filatetto, Poplar Avenue, Ward 3. With the recent spate of shootings, I'm hearing renewed calls for more police, and I'm here to express my deep concern and urge you to look at other solutions and alternatives to police to address public safety. All the data shows the police don't prevent crime, and even their rate of solving crimes, our clearance rate, is pretty poor. I've requested the data for Annapolis, but understand it's not public, though it absolutely should be, and I'll be following up about that. Crime policing is based on fear, not facts. A recent Reuters article titled "Police Are Not Crime Fighters Primarily" says in 2016, a group of criminologists concluded a systematic review of 62 earlier studies of police force size and crime, concluded 40 years of studies consistently show the overall effect of size for police force size on crime is negative, small, and not statistically significant. The Real News Network is doing a multi-article study examining the past 32 years of Baltimore crime data in Baltimore to determine the efficacy of various police strategies. I highly suggest you check it out, and I'll share these articles with you by email. Think about it. What's keeping our community members from murdering each other across the city? Is it because the police are hiding in the bushes, waiting to stop them? And if they do stop someone, it's likely going to be by killing them. Police cannot be everywhere and see everything. And would you want them to, even if they could? Even if you say yes, I suspect the vast majority of your constituents would not agree. Ask yourself, do the safest communities have the most police? No, they have the most resources. If everyone has a decent place to live, enough food, and enough money to do something fun on the weekend, how likely are they to go out, rob, steal, and kill? I've heard it said that a budget is a statement of values. So what values does it reflect when our budgets invest far more in punishment and not prevention, in punishment instead of care? Create more cops, get more criminals. You get what you invest in. Even Chief Jackson said in 2020 at a march, quote, "Police are often asked to deal with societal ills," end quote. And it has recently been shown that more training and resources is not the answer. Ask yourself, what community resource are we giving communities with high poverty levels and crime rates? As the recession kicks into high gear and we get further into late stage capitalism, working class people are further economically squeezed. Let's remember that if we were in a situation where we were starving or unable to find housing, we would quite possibly steal and commit some of these crimes ourselves. I know I would. And if you put more police in neighborhoods with high poverty that are already over-policed, you'll get what you ask for, more criminals who are really just members of our community who are struggling to survive, committing crimes of desperation. And before you try to tout how people in poorer communities ask for more police, ask yourself, what other options to solve problems have we given other than the police? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results. Money for mental health services is money against crime. A universal basic income is money against crime. The bottom line is the police can't stop the underlying root societal causes and problems of crime. They operate on the surface of social life, and this is nothing new. Federal commissions on law enforcement in 1967 and 88 both concluded this issue with using police to address crime. Annapolis is not a magical place where things are vastly different from other places in America. We have the same problems, but unlike other cities, we have more resources. I'm finishing up. I'm continually frustrated that the things I hear being talked about here are 10 to 15 years behind what I hear being discussed and implemented in DC and Baltimore. We can't solve these systematic problems with the same ineffective solutions. We don't need to invent the wheel. Just look around at the other laboratories of democracy. Our local systems of mutual aid, care, and community will be shown for however weak or strong they are. As economic conditions worsen, the American empire continues to decline, and especially when we get smacked with a major hurricane we are long overdue for, and as the climate crisis worsens. If you love our community and love all your neighbors, as I believe you do, give them access to the resources to at least assuage some of the unnecessary suffering under these extractive systems of oppression. You're in a position of power to do this. Will you have the courage? I'm easy to find if you want to be directed to some resources or discuss potential solutions further. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. One question. Phil, got a few questions. Thank you. Pindell Charles.
Thank you,
and
Mr.
then
Mayor.
Alderman Arnett.
Mr. Phil, a couple of things I want to bring to your attention if you aren't already aware. Number one, the clearance rate for the homicides, and I'm just going to use that for an example, in 2021 and 2022, I believe was 100%. Number two, the data is on the website. What I will do is hook you up with Captain Miguez, who is head of our community outreach commander, and she will be able to direct you to all the data that's on the website. It's pretty new. It's about a year or so old, and it's updated. It's a dashboard. Number three, have you had an opportunity to meet with our city manager's Office of Community Services? I think you need to talk with them. We have a licensed clinical social worker who's been there for about two and a half years. And we have people who help with rental assistance and those types of things. There's a litany of social services that we connect residents with. It's on the website. It's the Office of Community Services. Number 3, have you met with the Mayor's Office No Harm, Mr. Adetola Ajayi, and what they're working on recently? And you know we do have 2 resource offices, one in the Robinwood community as well as one in the Harbor House Eastport Terrace community. And number 5, I would strongly suggest we do this kind of once a year or maybe once every other year. We've had community meetings with Eastport Civic Association. We've had them with WARA. We've had them with the Caucus of African American Leaders, as well as the NAACP. A 3-hour meeting where the police department presents you with all of the data. Each commander, each person on the command staff will give a presentation on data and everything else you need. And one tidbit I want to mention to you, when we did this about a year and a half ago, the NAACP and the Caucus of African American Leaders met. We met down in the office of Chief Simmons. And I asked each one of them independently what grade would they give that presentation that they received from the police department. Independently, they each gave them an A, and they're really tough graders. So I think it would, I would ask—
Who gave the rating?
The NAACP, as well as the Caucus of African American Leaders independently. So I would suggest, and I can bring you together with these people so you can get the accurate information. I would have wished you had come to me earlier, but you know, you had indicated you were going to talk about the comp plan, but that's okay tonight. But we can certainly get together and have a meeting, a community meeting or a private meeting where you can see all this that is going on within the police department.
Beautiful. You know, I appreciate you're on top of it. So some responses to what you said, the police solved all the murders, absolutely, but that's still punishment and not prevention. I think ideally, we don't want to solve all the murders. We don't want to have any murders, right?
True.
So thank you for connecting me with those different services we can follow up. Beautiful that all those alternatives exist. Please invest in them. Harbor House Police Office is not used because citing community friction is my understanding. And while I understand the NAACP and the caucus have you asked, I always often find that the Annapolis is like a thought bubble. Have you asked anybody like from NACOL or from other entities outside of Annapolis to rate what's going on here?
I've known the people who are the presidents of each one all of my life, and trust me, if they didn't think it was an A, they would have not given it an A. I know that for sure. So anyway, we can certainly connect on these levels, and we can sit down and have some time and do that.
Right on. Appreciate you.
And Phil, your comments were great, so we would like a copy of those comments. Thank you very much.
I'll email them, yes.
And then Alderman Arnett wanted to say
Yes, I was going to ask the same thing. I thought your points were very cogent. I agree with you, continuing to do the same thing over and over. We just had another shooting in Ward 8 today. I would also like, you said that you had some resources that you could cite us. I would commend, if you haven't already read it, the book From Here to Equity, which is all about reparation. And I think that you're right. We're not going to solve it with the traditional. We need police because they need to go after and catch the bad guys and bring them. But that's not stopping the shooting. That's reacting to it. So I would very much like to read your remarks and get your list of resources.
Right on. Thanks for the book recommendation. I have one for you. Becoming Abolitionist by Derica Purnell. It's in the West Street Library. That's where I pulled a bunch of stats from. And what took me from understanding abolition as a theory to understanding why we absolutely had to do it. I urge you all to check it out. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to come forward and speak?
Yes, I would. Ladies first.
Oh, thank you. Hello, Denise Robinson, 518 Fifth Street. This Friday marks the 45th National POW MIA Recognition Day. We have this day to honor our men who never returned home or who were POWs. It was brought to us mainly by the hard work of our Vietnam veterans who insisted when they came home, we never forget until the last man comes home. I'd like to take this moment, because I've emailed several times, to see we're going this year for 70 for 70. Currently, there are 70 men from Anne Arundel County who are still listed on the tablets of the missing around the world. 39 of them are from Annapolis. We have men missing from 1918, Private Charles Hepburn, an African-American soldier who was assigned to the French troops, to Vietnam, which Major J. Shea. What I'd like to do, as I mentioned to the mayor, was to have 70 tables, 1 table for each man that's missing, 39 in Annapolis, and we're still running short. I wanted to find something that could bring a commonality to our city government. And what I mentioned was in City Hall that we set a table to remember aviation mechanic second class Carl Lewis Morgan. He was a Navy mechanic. He grew up on German Street. He was a son of Raymond and Florence. He enlisted in the Navy in 1942. When he checked the line for Navy Air, he knew that the survival rate of the air crew of the Navy was 35%. And he still said, I want to go. After completing his basic training of mechanic and gunnery school, he was assigned to VP 52. On November 22nd, 1943, PB-4 4A took off from Naomi Bay on a mission against Japanese shipping. They were hit by enemy anti-aircraft fire, which ignited the fire underneath the ammunition and the bombs. Fearing an explosion, the pilot, Lieutenant Commander John Arbuckle, decided to ditch the plane off the coast of New Ireland. For 7 hours, the crew swam and tread water to avoid coming into contact with the very ships that had shot them down. Carl Morgan was cited as saving the lives of 2 of his men by helping them swim because of how he learned to tread water in the Chesapeake Bay. After 7 hours, they made it to shore, and they split up in 2 groups. For several more hours, they evaded the Japanese until they were finally captured. Lieutenant Commander Arbuckle, because of his rank, was taken to a POW camp on Japan. The rest of the crew was taken prisoners at Camp 4152, the notorious Rabaul, New Britain POW camp. Not many people are familiar with this camp because only 28 men walked away at the end of the war. The people who took the highest mortality rate were the Australians. What we do know, upon his capture, he was placed in a hole for 7 days with a ration of water, very little of it. His daily ration after that was 20 ounces of rice. After 2 months in the camp, it was reduced to 12 ounces of rice, and oftentimes it was covered with maggots. The last month of Carl's life, because the American and the Australians started to bomb Papua New Guinea, they handcuffed, chained, and tied the men together and put them in caves. The average cage was 30 feet long by 5 feet wide. There was no opening, they were boarded up. Every day the Japanese would come and take men. The first day they took 19, they took them out, they heard 19 shots. No one returned. The second day they took 21, they heard 20 shots. They realized later that the 1 officer was taken to another camp. The Japanese originally said that these men were killed by the bombings of the Americans. Then they tried to say that they were starved to death. But later at the Japanese War Crimes Commission, it was learned that they were all executed. What we do know is the last day of Carl Morgan's life, on April 12th, 1944, he died. He was placed in a mass grave and is somewhere on the island of New Guinea. The Australians are valiantly, along with the Americans, excavating the island, trying to find every man and bring him home. So there is a chance that Carl could come home one day. So I ask you that please, if anybody has earned the right to have a missing man table set in the middle of this city council, it would be aviation mechanic Carl Morgan, until the last man comes home. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Pendle Charles.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Denise, I sent an email to 2 members of the Hepburn family. Did you ever hear back from them?
Not yet.
Okay, I'll resend it again.
Thank you very much.
Okay, sure.
And Denise, will you call me on that? Will you call me about that?
Of course, thank you very much.
Anybody else like to come forward and speak? Please come forward, state your full name and address.
Hello, my name is Ryan Franey, 133 South Homeland, Ward 3. So earlier there was a discussion about the lighthouse shelter, the crime there. July 29th, 2022, a woman was raped in that area. I saw it coming. I told my girlfriend to stop going to the Walgreens and the bagel place there because there was a contingent of 20 to 30 gentlemen who would always drink, hang out, and apparently 2 of the guys ended up raping one of the women, and she yelled, a witness got involved, and it got stopped. Maybe after, during, I don't know. According to the chief of police, that's just noise. Just noise. Last night I was watching, I watch local cable because I'm a loser, I guess, but it's very informative. And the chief of police said, and I believe Miss Pindell Charles was there, that as long as his officers and staff go home safe and there's no murders, the rest is noise. The rest is noise. So I guess anything except for murder, which just to let you know, in this city, so far this year, there's been 9 murders. In the county, there's been 10. Look at the population difference. It's insane. The Lighthouse Shelter is an area where it's county, city, and it's very odd where that line is. That is an area that's a problem for the police department. Because did it happen in the county? Did it happen in the city? Okay? So a criminal could realize, you know what, if I do this here and go over here, it's going to be difficult for them to pursue me. Here's a little suggestion that is going to seem so, everyone's going to laugh inside their mind. I know it. Let's make the Annapolis Police Department a part of the Anne Arundel County Police Department. No one gets fired. The officers get paid more. Because Hillsmere is in the county. Bay Ridge is in the county. If there's crime there, a county police officer has to go it makes no sense. So I didn't know that these women who've left, we're going to talk about the Lighthouse Shelter, and I was a victim of a crime April 2022. It happened downtown. And just let everybody know that in October 2021, I spoke to the mayor about crime downtown at the West Street Library. We had a discussion about it. And lo and behold, 5 months later, I get assaulted in the same spot that I said there's a problem. The reason I went to speak to you that day was because I was under the assumption that a friend of mine who works downtown at a bar was attacked. Okay? He told everyone he was attacked. Months later, after I spoke to you, he's telling me that he's going to workers' comp court. I'm like, whoa, why are you going to workers' comp court? You got assaulted when you're working outside of the bar you work at. So he tells me, well, I threw the first punch. I'm like, oh, so you were the aggressor. You assaulted people. And then you lost. Yeah. So I'm like, you know what? Would I have gone down to speak to the mayor about crime in an area down there? No. I was lied to by a friend of 30 years because he just wanted to have perception he was a victim. When I went to try to get a copy of my police report of my assault, I show up, I actually call. Case number, boom, come on in. They gave it to me. I knew because McGarvey's is 2 different addresses that they were going to mess up the address. I knew it. And I'm walking out, I look at it, yep, wrong address, I go back. I'm like, yeah, you need to change the address. Okay, we're going to reach out to the officer who responded, come back tomorrow with the address changed. Sounds good. I show up the next day, a Miss Renee has a police report, and she's like, why do you want this? So I can read the police report and proceed accordingly. She then quizzes me. She's like, do you have the people who assaulted you, their name and address and phone number? I'm like, yes, I do. I have it in this book. She asked me to prove it.
That's it.
So I proved it. So then,
excuse me.
She goes back.
This is 10 seconds. You're over 4 minutes.
10 seconds, and I'll be done.
Yep. Thank you. Okay.
This is public safety, so way to squash.
So we give you 3 minutes. I gave you an extra minute. You're over 4 minutes now. Thank you.
Miss Renee goes back. And all of a sudden, a Detective Courtney Moore and Sergeant Brian Chris come out with the police report. Why do I want it? I explain again why I wanted it. They wouldn't give it to me. So I've got more stuff here which will blow people's minds about your police force, okay? You have some quality officers at the top. You don't. At the lower level, a Miss Renee, you don't. Okay, so to the citizens of Annapolis, fear the Annapolis Police Department. Do not trust the Annapolis Police Department. They have something called CALEA that they're worried about. So I was going to talk about that, but I got to go. It's called CALEA. What the police force is doing is trying to make a picture that everything's great, so they get this accreditation. The accreditation is great for their resume, okay?
Thank you.
Have a nice night.
for your
Thank you
comments.
for everyone.
Thank
If anyone
you.
would like to, I've got a lot of stuff. I'll be back at the next meeting.
Gavin, I just didn't want the Lighthouse
We're not
shelter
doing
to go on
any,
record.
this is public comments. Everyone's allowed to have
We
it.
do discuss when it's.
Please. Thank you. Please state your full name and address. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Eric Sowers. My wife and I own Level Small Plates Lounge at 69 West Street, and I'm here looking for assistance with a situation that has been impacting our sales greatly. Since purchasing Level in 2017, we have diligently adhered to city code. When we decided last year to pursue gaining approval for a sidewalk cafe permit, we were happy to meet all requirements. We went through the tedious process with planning and zoning, the Historic Preservation Commission, the fire department, and Public Works. During that process, there were many requirements that we had to adhere to that other businesses in the historic district are not. This spring, the city assisted Inter West Street Association with hanging semi-permanent cafe string lights across West Street. I've provided photos of all that also. Since we were included in Dining Under the Stars, we hung the same exact identical lights over our sidewalk dining area, which also helps for people to see, safety. We utilized a city street sign and lamp to support them. Shortly after that, we received an email from Public Works saying we could not touch city property, even though many of the lights on the first block rely on city street lamps for support as well. Before giving us a chance to resolve the support issue, Public Works reported us to John Tower with the Historic Preservation Commission. Mr. Tower was adamant that our lights were not approved and needed to be removed immediately. Lights, they're lights. With no overhead lighting, our restaurant and sidewalk dining area now appear closed. Saturday night, 8:30, you walk by, are they open? Well, let's go down here just in case. We've seen a 30% drop in sales since we've had to remove those, which was June the 11th. We are unable to compete with Dinner Under the Stars now. I have attempted several times to speak with Mr. Tower and try to come to a resolution. I even pointed out that West Street has at least a dozen string lights of the same exact kind across the street, and several other businesses have them as well. His suggestion was to add lights to the inside of Level and shine them outwards. It's ridiculous. This is not a viable option, as many of our tables are in front of a window that we do not have access to. Our landlords were so gracious enough to let us use the outdoor area, so we can't get lights over there. Considering the inconsistent enforcement of this ordinance, I am requesting that the City Council amend the current outdated version that the HPC is following. In the meantime, I am also requesting that the council grant us the temporary ability to utilize the lights again without touching city property. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Eric. Appreciate your comments.
Can you send us an email? I mean, we don't have any of this information, so I've got a packet over there, and I'll absolutely get that.
Thank you. Hello, how you doing? Please, full name and address. Thank you.
My name is Jennifer Sowers. My husband and I own Level, a small plates lounge on West Street, 69 West Street. The economic success of downtown Annapolis is largely dependent upon the restaurants here and the employees that work in them. Across downtown, we have seen a substantial increase in parking tickets for restaurant staff, as well as an increase in parking fees at the Hillman Garage. Staff members struggle daily to find financially feasible parking options downtown. In terms of parking discount coupons, these do have time limits on them. Additionally, there are time limits on the shuttle that I was referred to that is available to take staff to and from the Park Place Garage. Because of this, anyone working outside of those hours is required to walk from their place of employment, which could be McGarvey's, for instance. So if they were to get off at midnight, have their cash that they made for that night, they would need to walk all the way from McGarvey's to Park Place to get their vehicle. This is a potential safety and liability issue for the restaurants and perhaps for the city as well. To avoid this scenario, many people will find parking along the streets until 3 p.m., which is when the discount tickets are active. They will then leave work to shift their car to one of the garages that accepts the tickets. Please note that if a person is paying in cash, the garages will not even accept the discount tickets. During this time frame, the staff is waiting for their discount tickets to become active. The contracted parking companies dispatch their ticket writers to City Dock, Main Street, and all the way up to Level on West Street. They can be seen standing and waiting for the employees to park in order to write them citations. When this happens, a restaurant worker pays their fines. Many times they either break even that day or leave work in the negative after dealing with the parking situation. I had reached out to the mayor's office last year for help with this situation and was offered a pilot program to allow our staff to park in the Larkin lot, which is directly behind our building. We would also be able to use our discount tickets there. That was short-lived and was changed to only being able to park there after 4 p.m. Again, this means that staff must jockey for parking throughout the city until that time. A senior manager with SP Plus provided us with a QR code for our employees to use that would provide them the discount after they had parked in the Larkin lot. Over the past 6 months, that code has only worked sporadically, and the senior manager has gradually changed the parking rules for the Larkin lot to us to only be able to park there on Sundays from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. The focus on increasing, I'm almost done. The focus on increasing revenues for parking is one that should not be done on the backs of local business owners and downtown employees. Yesterday, I spent some time visiting nearly all of the restaurants on Main Street. It was unanimous that not only are the current parking requirements affecting staff members, but they are also affecting the number of visitors that are coming to Annapolis. Many of the owners indicated that this has been the worst summer for sales in the history of their restaurants here. As the backbone of Annapolis's economy, the current system is not working for us, and it requires immediate change. The businesses and employees in your wards are being ravaged by these parking vendors, with no one coming to our aid. We are requesting that the council institute a 24-hour employee discount coupon that can be used at the closest parking garage or lot to their employer. We are also requesting that the City Council require SP Plus and premium parking to refund or cancel any parking tickets that staff members have received over the last 3 months. We are looking to you to intercede in this issue. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate you listening.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you.
I'll be following up with an email as well.
Thank you. Please come forward, full name and address. Thank you.
Janet Katz, 143 Spa Drive, Ward 1. The Capitol recently reported that a sewage leak spilled 300,000 gallons of sewage into Spa Creek. For homeowners in Wards 3 and Wards 1, this failure has a profound impact and will likely affect residents in other wards, as well as visitors to the city who seek to enjoy water activities on Spa Creek for many months to come. The August 31st and September 3rd articles include the acting director of Public Works believing the sewage pipe likely burst on August 21st, when the closest pump station processed 75,000 to 80,000 less gallons of sewage than normal. My question to the council is, what protocol is in place to alert Public Works of an imminent environmental disaster? Is relying on residents and water quality testers to report malfunctions a viable procedure to ensure the health and safety of our citizens? While it is believed the repair is complete and sewage is being properly processed, the September 7th enter a code guy reading, conducted by the Spas Creek Conservancy at the Chesapeake Children's Museum, was 360 colony-forming units, also known as CFUs, versus 200 CFUs read on August 31st. Additionally, the Cherry Grove testing site measured 440 CFUs on September 7th. That's up from 50 CFUs on August 31st, which is very significant considering that anything over 100 CFUs is potentially harmful. The efforts of the city's public works employees are admirable, and the volunteer testers with the Spa Creek Conservancy are greatly appreciated, though it's evident that the city still likely has a sewage problem. Besides the elevated CFUs, these photos, taken yesterday morning at 11:36 a.m., show dark brown trail of suspicious sludge in Spa Creek. I have a few of them here, and I can certainly follow up and send them if you'd like to see the very dark brown streaking going on in the waterway. The absence of ducks, blue herons, and other wildlife species speaks volumes. This administration has focused initiatives under the banner of environmental sustainability. So I ask, are you serious about being stewards of our city's natural resources? What is the plan to prevent future sewage spills that really decimate the habitat of our native species? How will the biohazard that exists in Spa Creek, which leads to the Chesapeake Bay, be remediated? Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, please come forward. Full name and address. Thank you.
Hello. Hi, my name is Eli Linthicum. My wife and I are the owners of Game One Bar Arcade in West Street. I wasn't prepared. I didn't know this was happening, so I'm sorry about my attire. My question is really about, and I was here because Ms. Sowers asked us to come and support the West Street initiative thing. But my real question for this is, there's like a group of children that are like destroying West Street. And every time I call the police, which is weekly, to deal with it, they can't deal with it because they're too young. They can't arrest them, which I don't want little kids arrested, but these kids are pretty bad. I mean, they're throwing rocks at cars and spitting on people and hitting them with things. Like, it's pretty rough. And I don't really know what the answer is. They come into our business, they vandalize, they break things, they steal things, they harass and attack customers. And I don't really know the answer. Like, what do we do as a business? What do we do as a resident of Annapolis? Like, how do we help this problem? I don't want, like, what's going to end up happening is they're going to mess with the wrong adult on the wrong day, and they're going to get punched in the face or hurt. And that'll be our fault for not dealing with it. It won't be that person's fault. It won't really be the kid's fault. It'd be kind of your guys' fault. So what do we do? How do we fix this problem? Like, that's my question. How can I do this as a business owner? How can I help?
So we'll have the city reach out to you. So you've dealt with the Ombudsman's office. Have you dealt with Hillary?
We've called. I've called. Yeah. I've emailed the police chief numerous times. We've reached out to different line items. We haven't spoken to our alderman about it, so I would love to be able to do that. I'm a New Yorker, so that doesn't really help there, but maybe it helps here. I don't really know how that works, so I would love to. It's more help than...
If you're being targeted, we're going to try as much as we can to sort of get to work out. We've had other issues in some of the other areas. If you could reach back out to the mayor's office, and then we'll follow up with you. Cool. Alderman Shannemeyer had his hand up,
So this comes up once in a while where there is youth crime incidents if they're destroying or damaging property. Officers in multiple jurisdictions shrug and go, state law does not let us do anything. The Attorney General's report says this is inaccurate. If a minor is damaging your property, committing vandalism, or committing crime where bodily harm is threatened, they are allowed to respond and detain the children. There are some other issues with charging, but they are allowed to stop that immediate threat to to people and to property. So if they say nothing we can't do, the Attorney
General...
General...
are always very helpful. They feel like their hands are tied. is what I'm getting.
But we can get juvenile services, so we can do arresting. There are options. So, but I'm sorry, this is happening. It has happened before, so we'll do everything we can. Alderman Gay.
Thank you so much. I just had to, because I do not, of course, advocate for arresting juveniles or even detaining juveniles, because it has severe consequences and it creates psychological trauma. And so what needs to happen, and I'm glad that you asked us, what do you think should happen? And I hope as one business owner and as a constituent within one of their wards.
It's mine.
Okay, that you would support initiatives, and particularly when we get to the budget. And this is not my ward, but I know for a fact that within that area, those kids have nothing to do except for walk up and down West Street and cause problems. I remember very vividly, we were at dinner under the stars one night, and they were doing the same thing, throwing like stink bombs or whatever at people because they're bored. They have nothing to do. There's no playground on West Street, around the Clay Street area. There's a very small one, a Stanton Center with minimal resources. No outdoor recreational equipment or trails. I know the mayor is trying very hardly to get that weed trail put in, and I will support that. But that's the bottom line, is that there's just nothing to do around there. And I'm sure that when they see a business with a bunch of games and stuff in it, they're like, oh, let's go in here and be kids. And it's unfair that you have to deal with that. But I will support any investments in that area, as I've told the Aldo people that.
Thank you. And this is your Alderman Tierney?
Yes. I just want to say, are these the kids that are on bicycles and they're zooming down West Street looking for trouble?
If you talk to any of the police in that area, they'll know exactly who they're. It's like 7 kids, and then they rotate like 3 or 4 other kids.
But I think it is, and I might be subjective here, that it might be in your case the attraction of your business, as my colleague said, that you have games and all that. So
they have left us inside. They've stopped because we're pretty adamant about jumping on it. I just watch it. I watched them take one of our stools, throw it at a car on West Street. It hit the car window. The guy pulled off, started screaming at the kids. They flicked him off, went across the street, stole a bunch of stuff from 7-Eleven. A police officer came by and was standing there talking to him, and they walked by with all this stolen stuff, and the guy at the 7-Eleven was screaming at him. And they just walked back through and go through the fence behind the graduate. That's a joke. That's bad. Yes, it is partly our business is a little interesting, but it's also just there's no structure, and the parent really should be the one getting in trouble, not the kids, but it's not happening either.
Okay.
Thank you.
I would love to help. We try to get them all in and do programs for them. That didn't work. We would love to help if we can. I'll reach out. Thank you. Sorry.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much. Anybody else like to come forward and speak? Seeing no movement in the chamber, I declare public comments closed. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next on the agenda.
Yes, sir. The next item on the agenda is appointments, and you have 3. AP 2123, Arts and Public Places, Joe Lucchese. AP 2223, Planning Commission, Robert Waldman. And AP 2323, Planning Commission, Alex Pine.
Can I get a motion to adopt those, please? The second.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
The next item is consent calendar.
This time it's a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Move to approve the consent calendar.
Second, thank you. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes, sir. Mayor Buckley?
Aye.
Alderman Savage?
Aye.
Alderman Arnett?
Aye.
Alderwoman Tierney?
Aye.
Alderwoman O'Neill?
Aye.
Alderwoman Pendle Charles?
Aye.
Alderman Finlayson?
Aye.
Alderman Shandemeyer? Alderman Gay?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next on the agenda.
Yes, the next item is business and miscellaneous, beginning with ID 13823, proposed 2024 City Council meeting dates.
Is there a motion to adopt ID 38-23?
So move.
Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No. I don't want to meet again after tonight.
Mr. City Attorney, please present the next on the agenda.
Yes, sir. The next item on the agenda is supplemental appropriations. beginning with SA 324, General Department of Transportation Reserve for one-time uses.
Is there a motion for SA 3-24?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Yes, next item is SA 424, Finance, Maryland Department.
Okay.
Maryland Department of Natural Resources Program Open Space Local Grant.
Could I get a motion for SA 4-24?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Yes, SA 624, Grant, APD, State of Maryland Governor's Office of Crime Control and Prevention.
So
Is
moved.
there a motion? Thank you. Alderman
Second.
Shanamaya, second. I think you motioned and second, didn't you? Could I get another second? Thank you. All those in favour say aye. Aye. I apologise.
No, you're totally fine. I have just two quick questions on the essays, very quick. What program is the 8700 going to? It just says year-round community outreach.
I will leave that for acting deputy. Assistant City Manager, yeah.
Hi, Victoria Buckland, Assistant City Manager. These are, I saw Rhonda, or Sion. Are you able to speak to this particular grant?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I can get you more information later. Thank you.
And then the electric, is this for the buses that will go from the Eastport Shopping Center, I'm hoping?
The 10-minute trolley loop, yeah.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next on the agenda.
Yes, sir. The next item is fund transfers, beginning with FT 124, General, Public Works, City Manager, Contractual Services, Special Projects.
Is there a motion to adopt FT 1-24?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
The next item is public hearings, beginning with ordinances. The first one is O1023, allowing cigar lounges to serve alcoholic beverages.
So, sorry.
Okay, I'm not trying to bias you all, but this is the governor's favourite place. I know he sneaks in there and hangs out.
I
so,
love-
first person signed up to speak, Shelton Willett. Please come forward.
Notice the person that doesn't drink is a sponsor of all of these.
Please add me as a co-sponsor.
And I never go in there.
We've never seen the city attorney. Do you recognize this man?
Who's that? Thank you, everyone. I'm Shelton Willett. I represent Vitola 121 Main Street.
And your full address, please?
1202 Bay Highlands Drive.
Thank you.
Annapolis. It was how can I say it? I was counseled to make sure I came. I just wanted to thank everyone for even considering. We are the only cigar lounge that will be in the city at this moment. Our goal is to bring the best right downtown to Annapolis. So the one component that is missing in all of the culture, that we have every component of the culture of cigars except for the alcohol, which is the pairings that go with the tobacco. My partner, Steve Burtz, is a certified tobacconist. Matter of fact, certified retail tobacconist. So any cigar inside of the humidor, he will know where it's from, what is the taste, what are all of the notes of it. I am a certified sommelier tobacconist. I pair alcohol with tobacco. So that was important in our plan to make sure we had that component for the city could come and make sure they could have the proper pairing for the proper tobacco. There's only 3 of us in the state of Maryland. One of us has a shop. So it's a tourist attraction. We like to push that part for the city of Annapolis. It's important that we do the best business in the city because I know a lot of you from community work, and we set a certain example for the communities and the neighborhoods. So it's important for us to be the best and at the highest level. So we're doing pretty good right now, but this is the last component that completes our brand, and we just appreciate the look.
Thank you. A few questions, sorry, on public testimony. Alderman Gay?
No, I just had a quick question. I recall the previous cigar lounge that was there, they had alcohol on the second floor.
No.
I don't think legally.
No.
Listen, I'm a community advocate. I have to do it correctly.
Scratch that one.
I got to do it correctly.
Thank you. Alderman O'Neill?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just, one question.
Yes.
Are there any lounges in the city of Annapolis that currently allow cigar smoking that we know of?
With alcohol?
Correct. Restaurants or patios or?
No. Well, so I think what this
That's what I needed to know.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure. I think there's not even a distinction of cigar lounge. I think that's what the issue was, to even distinguish that so that we could go forward.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Yep.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your testimony.
Thanks, Shelton.
Next, Janet Katz is signed up to speak next.
Oh, she's on the wrong form.
Am I going the wrong one? Sorry.
Okay.
For the cigars lounge, I had you down here as well on that, sorry. Anybody else like to come forward and speak on O-10-23? Okay, I declare the public hearing closed on O-10-23. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next on the agenda.
Yes, the next item on the agenda is O-2223, business license, taxes and regulation, creation of art establishment, beer and wine license.
So moved.
It's just public hearing?
It is a public hearing,
It's public hearing.
but they would appreciate that.
Okay, we have Dennis Coughlin, please come forward. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Dennis Coughlin, the Facility Director for Maryland Hall, 801 Chase Street, Annapolis, Maryland. Obviously, Maryland Hall supports this ordinance. If I may, I'd like to share some bullet point comments on this. This license would reduce our annual expenditures of over $5,500 on one-day liquor licenses, contribute to long-term financial stability for us, enable better financial planning and allocation of resources for our nonprofit organization, saves valuable staff time currently spent on application and renewal process for one-day liquor license, allowing staff to focus on their core mission activities such as organizing art exhibits, education classes, and community events. Provide a consistent and enjoyable experience for our audiences who enjoy the option of having wine or beer during events. Strengthens our partnerships with our resident companies and Rams Head on Stage, which we have a really great relationship with, allowing for smoother event coordination, increased revenue opportunities. Support local businesses by sourcing alcoholic beverages locally, contributing to the economic vitality of the region. Demonstrates our commitment to responsible alcohol service by maintaining yearly license with staff trained to handle alcohol service responsibly. Allow us to plan for expansion and growth with confidence, knowing that the liquor license is an asset. Frees our team from the administrative burden associated with recurring liquor license applications, paperwork, and frequent need to attend liquor board meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, and I want to thank you, Dennis, for all the amazing work you do at Maryland Hall. I'm sure we've touched all of our lives, so thank you for all the hard work you do there. A question from Alderman
Not a
Tierney.
question, just Jackie Coleman would be here, but she's on vacation, so she just wanted me to tell you that. It means a lot to her.
Thank you. Alderman Gay? Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. Thank you so much. Thank you. Anybody else like to come forward and speak on O-22-23? I declare the public hearing closed on O-22-23. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Yes, the next item on the agenda for public hearing is O-2323, Alcoholic Beverages Code Technical Corrections.
Thank you. No one signed up to speak on that. I declare the public hearing closed on O-23-23. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
The next item for public hearing is O-2423, issuance of general obligation bonds and bond anticipation notes.
Thank you. Nobody signed up to speak on that. I declare the public hearing closed on O-24-23. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Yes, sir. The next item on the agenda for public hearing is R 4323, Public Water Access at Wells Cove Inlet in Eastport.
Thank you. If you just can go to the podium, I think, please. Thank you. Yeah.
Oh, we're going to be a little longer.
You're going to be 3 minutes. Yeah, that's all you have.
We have the right under the city code. I've already cleared it with Mr. Lyles, put on evidence and testimony.
This hasn't happened since I've been at this chair, so let me find out from Mr. City Attorney. That hasn't been told to you. So you have 3 minutes of testimony. We'll make it 4. So this is unusual. We don't do this. So thank you.
I will cite you to the code section. I'm not. I want to make sure that we're moving forward here with something that's way out of bounds. And now we're violating the rules code specifically allows a public hearing process. I'm looking at code section 216-180. There's a public hearing.
Mr. Mayor, this is out of order.
Yeah, it hasn't been clear with me, so I'm not going to allow it. So thank you very much. I can say who's going to speak, but please give your testimony for 3.5 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, to make clear, the record that this is a public hearing. Denying me the opportunity to put on evidence and testimony, even though the code provides.
I'm going to say it's a public hearing that allows 3 minutes of testimony and then an additional minute, and you might even get a little bit more time than that, but please, thank you.
I'll talk fast.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so this particular case before you today is the Wells Cove litigation. Here's the appeal brief and transcript I filed today.
Thank you. Just take it up there with you. Thank you.
I will. I just want to put that there. This is a complicated legal issue that involves issues of standing to file a lawsuit, standing to address a contract, the riparian rights, the unconstitutional taking of property rights by the city, among with various other issues, including collateral attack, res judicata, and collateral estoppel. This is a legislative body. You are violating the Maryland Constitution and the oaths that you all took when you took this office, that you will uphold the Maryland and the United States Constitution. You are violating that by attempting to pass a resolution that deprives people of their property rights, acts in a judicial capacity as opposed to a legislative capacity, and you're also directing a particular employee of an agency in violation of the Annapolis City Code, which would subject each one of you to expulsion as a city council member, is the exact language of the code, in addition to misconduct for violating the Constitution that you have done. The issues of Wells Cove are complicated legal and real property issues which are being addressed in litigation in the circuit court and now are before the appellate court of Maryland. There's a long way to go in this issue. It is solely for the courts to determine, not for this board. And everything about your proposed, especially the proposed amendment, is completely inconsistent with the ruling. There is no requirement that anything be removed. There's no requirement that anyone lose their riparian rights or have to move their boats. There is a specific part of the order that says that the rights of people to launch their kayaks cannot be interfered. That's all it says. And in fact, we've already had conversations with the plaintiff's attorney where we show that the ability to launch a paddleboard or a kayak actually exists and is not being interfered with. But you have people who are not a party to this case, and Mr. Parham, whose riparian rights will be affected. 30 years ago, the port wardens of Annapolis identified the developable waterway areas of each of the residents of Blue Heron Cove. Those rulings had to be appealed 30 years ago. You are now going around and reversing their rulings from 30 years ago. That's completely unconstitutional. It's anarchy. You're basically decided you don't care about the rule of law in Maryland or the United States, and you're just going to completely upend and decide that you are now a judicial body and you're going to step in instead of the Circuit Court for Anne Arundel County, the Appellate Court of Maryland, Supreme Court of Maryland, and the federal courts to determine what you believe are the appropriate property rights of these people. And again, I vehemently object to being denied the right to put on witnesses and testimony, which I am permitted in the city code, which I read the section to you. So I urge you You are asking for litigation against the city. The city's already involved in this case and already spent a fortune defending it with us as co-defendants, taking the same position we took. You are now inviting and demanding further litigation because you are stealing property rights that do not belong to you without compensation, without due process. That's fundamental constitutional law. You're violating every code I can think of. This is none of your business. This is not what this board is about. And you're creating more trouble against your own citizens. And I urge you to vote down this ordinance. We will be in court again, seeking relief now against our co-defendants. That's not what you want. That's not a good path for this. So that's all I get. It's been 3.5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Hartman. You're entitled to 3 or 4 minutes as well, sir, if you want to come forward and speak.
Mr. Mayor, quick question while he's walking up. If he's appealing this and bringing forth litigation, should we even be hearing this? Doesn't that automatically?
Everyone's allowed to 3 or 4 minutes of comment. This is not a courtroom, so we're not going to handle things this way, but everyone's allowed 3 or 4 minutes. We're allowing that. Please give your full name and address. Thank you, sir.
My name is Christopher Sterrett. I live at 1018 Boucher Avenue. I am a member of the Blue Heron Cove Condominium Association. I do not own a boat or I do not own a pier. I have 2 concerns about the proposed legislation that I don't think have been addressed in any of the information I've received about it. Article 4, Section 2A of the Annapolis City Charter says aldermen and alderwomen may not direct the work of a director or employee of a department. An alderman or alderwoman also who violates this prohibition is guilty of misconduct in office and is subject to expulsion from office. This prohibition does not preclude an alderman from submitting an inquiry or report or request of a department, director, or employee. The proposed resolution calls for the city manager to direct the harbor master in his duties. This is not an inquiry. This is not a request. This is given a specific effective date, and this provides in the amended form specific duties for the harbor master to perform. My concern is that this proposed resolution may violate that code, that city charter, and that this board should not vote on this resolution until the city attorney has given a written legal opinion of the applicability of this charter provision to that resolution. My second point is simpler, and it is that the resolution itself calls for the harbor master to make a number of decisions. Unfortunately, or fortunately, as Mr. Hartman has shown, there's a 25-page or 50-page brief up before the Appellate Court of Maryland, where professionally trained attorneys who are authorized to decide this question, the judges, appellate judges, yet your resolution calls for a harbor master who's skilled in harbor ideas, but not necessarily legal tenets. I would ask that this council give consideration to the fairness of such a procedure, and that it, again, refrain from voting for it. Thank you.
Thank you. And just to clarify, it's a resolution, not an ordinance that we're talking about here. Correct. Resolution. It's a resolution, not an ordinance that we're talking about here.
I realize that, Mr. Mayor, but to anyone who looks at the particularity of this resolution and its commanding language may have a question whether it truly is a resolution as a matter of law. And the appellate court, of course, could decide that. I'm just asking that the council consider that, especially the amended version with its particular details. I realize the point you're making. That's why I asked for the legal opinion.
Thank you for your comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to come forward?
Good evening, everyone. My name is, I go by Yarrow, but my full name is Carol Yarrow. I reside at 102 Roosevelt Court in Eastport. I'm about 2 blocks from the Wells Avenue, or Wells Cove public access. So I did send in a letter today stating that I have actually lived at my property for over 22 years. It's right off of President Street. And I bought that property because it was the only thing I could afford in Annapolis, and it had public water access, which was Sorrells at the time, and now is the Annapolis Yacht Center. And we do not have public access there anymore. So that's just a little bit of the history about public access in our area. But coming to the Wells Cove legislation, I understand that the judge has already made a ruling on this, that it is public access. Actually, the city has a public access pier there. That is the city's, that they should be maintaining. And we have an easement to be able to get into the water there and also have the water taxi come there. So what is the problem tonight? The problem is there is a blue boat that is blocking access there. And also there are some other issues about how the condominium does not want us to walk down the path, the 5-foot wide path that is actually the easement to the cove so that we can get in the water. So there's a number of things going on, but what I'm requesting, and I neglected to thank Alderman Savage and Alderman Arnett for bringing this resolution, because it really clarifies the fact that we already have public access there. And we have the means with the pier and a bulkhead to have access and bring the water taxi and other small craft, kayaks, paddle boards, and small boats. So it really is that we want to have the blue boat removed so we can have access to that area, get that water taxi up in there, and also really delineate in the wording for this particular situation that it is all watercraft that can come in there, not just where we can put in a kayak or a paddleboard or whatever, but small craft can come in there. And so I'm asking that the council review this and abide by the judge's ruling so that we can then have, the next step would be for the city to go ahead and enforce this easement that's already in place since, I think it's 1992. Yes, 1992. We would like to be able to start using that without being harassed by the neighbors in there, and also have the actual access. So that's what I'm asking for tonight. So that's all about the resolution. Anybody have any questions?
We just public comment. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, I also would just like to mention that we had a shooting over on President Street at 551 tonight. And I'm sure you're aware of it, and Councilman Gay as well. So our hearts go out to all the neighbors and people there. So we had one shot, you know.
Thank you, Yam. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next up is Jerry Perham for the sign up here. So sorry, I didn't get this sheet, but you guys can.
No, I signed up after Yarrow. It should be on the list, unless I have a photo.
Yeah, I didn't start at the top. I apologize. My fault. Yeah, I wasn't given this list till later, but the person that signed up first was Jerry, and then Yarrow signed up third, and so I will come back to you.
After Yarrow, I have a photo of this sheet I signed up on. So
Okay, so it's okay. It's okay. I'm going to get to you.
Ma'am.
You can't come up here.
He'll get to you.
I'm going to get to you. You're fourth on the list. You are fourth on the list. Thank you, Jerry. Please, full name and address. Thank you.
Sure. Good evening, Mayor Gavin and members of the Annapolis City Council. I'm Gary Parham, the owner of 954 Creek Drive. I've been an Eastport resident for 5 years, and I speak tonight about our 4323. I submitted the letter for the record, and I'm here to ask for clarity in some of the wording, is the headline. My property is adjacent to the Blue Heron condominiums. We're fantastic neighbors. We share the property line along the eastern side of the easement to Wells Cove. And I just wanted to start by saying that I recognize and respect Judge Warren's ruling providing public water access to the easement, from the easement to Wells Cove. But I'm also aware that that decision is under appeal, and that's not really my concern tonight. My concern is to maintain my property rights, my riparian rights of my land. So I just want to remind the council members that 954 Creek Drive is not a party in the deed of easement. We are a adjacent neighbor with independent riparian rights along our bulkhead. I have a legally permitted floating dock that's attached to the bulkhead, and my piling exists in the northern direction towards Spot Creek. And together, those delineate my developable waterway. And this is all shown in a diagram that was submitted originally with my Port Warden application in October 2020 and is an attachment to the letter that I submitted today. So now to the point. The wording of R4323, particularly Amendment 1, shares similar concerns that we already heard. That language is concerning. It's very strong. It's very directive. As an example, the wording talks about approved permits for docks, piers, pilings, boats, and other impediments be revoked or removed, and that the harbor master is directed not to allow boats to dock nearby. So that is, as I mentioned, language that I find concerning because it's broad, it's unspecific, and it's unclear about whether the author of that language has my waterway, dock, and piling in mind for public use. So I'm requesting that R4323 be further amended so that it's clarified that my waterway is not going to be impinged. And as a specific suggestion, a diagram would help a lot to talk about what the idea is. Is there going to be a dock? Is there going to be a pier? Are we moving pilings? What's the recommendation? And then we can follow up and have a discussion about that. And if we need to go the distance on it, we will. Just following up on that suggestion, right? So there's been a number of, in fact, I think Yara just mentioned it, the idea of using the western side of the easement for access. There's a ladder there. How much of that is actually used in terms of water taxi versus canoes and kayaks, we'll see. But it's, in my opinion, the space over the storm drain on the eastern side of the easement wouldn't make sense. It would certainly impinge on my developable waterway. So my final point is that this is not really my own opinion. This is actually implied in the way that the easement was initially drawn, where it moves to the left, to the west side of the storm drain, and even in the writ of mandamus that Jessica Packler, Joseph Donahue, and others wrote in January of 2021. There are a number of figures in there, Figure 2, Figure 7, that show access to the western side of the tile. So thank you for considering my request to enhance the language, and let's make it unambiguous and enforceable. Thanks.
Thank you so much for your comments. Thank you. Next person signed on to speak is Rich Halverson.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Rich Halverson, 1035 Boucher Ave. Really appreciate the opportunity to come listen tonight to everything, all the issues that so many of you are addressing across our city. Hearing things about youth without things to do reminds me, connects these dots between a shooting tonight and something to do that's been denied to members of my community. It's been uplifting, and I've been really appreciative to be connecting with neighbors about this issue for access that is right and legal and has been. It's been upheld as right and legal with a summary judgment, which seems to point to the overwhelming evidence that this does exist and should be enforced. And I appreciate the language in the resolution to provide for that. I'm not sure that it's enforcement, but to at least make that access accessible. I am one citizen, I certainly would be using it more weekly, several times a week, with my daughter to give her a relationship with the water like I enjoyed as a child in Southern California. That was part of my childhood that led me to come to Annapolis originally as a midshipman, that led me to bring my family back now so we can instill that relationship with the water for my daughter. But hearing the kind of diverse issues that have been addressed tonight, it does kind of ring back to what does it mean to the community, to equity in the community, access for community, when you can just visibly look at the map of where access is provided across the city on the opposite side of the creek versus our side of the creek, and see the disparity. And so this is about, it's not creating new accommodations, it's one that's always been there. It just has been allowed to be overgrown and blocked. And I think that clearing it out will go a long way to our enjoyment of the area, and I think to building better bonds within the community, a healthy, happy community where neighbors can come together, can find positive, constructive things to do, and again, build that relationship with the water that defines our city and our residents. So thank you for letting me speak tonight. I urge you to support the resolution. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Thank you. Next up now, Margaret, you're up. Thank you. Please come forward, full name and address. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm sorry about the misunderstanding. I didn't realize there was, we didn't go in the order of the list. My name is Margaret Malevsky, and I own property at 394 Jefferson Street. So Wells Cove Access is actually our street end park for us. Thank you, Alderman Savage and Alderman Arnett, for proposing this resolution. I'd like to express my support for it, and as further amended by Alderman Savage. We purchased our property 5 years ago with the understanding that we had water access, both at Wells Cove and at the time at what is now SAYC. We have lost the access through SAYC behind a gated community. And so this is all that remains. And it's all that remains on our side of Eastport. The closest ones otherwise are Burnside Park or the 6th Street End Park. And it's notable that all those street and parks are maintained. They have a nice water access. They have ladders. They have, tie-up or docking ability for craft of various type. There is usually a bench. There's some sort of landscaping, whereas I don't know if you're familiar with this access. This is what the access to the public space looks like, through garbage cans and through bushes. If you go further, it is also overgrown and invisible. When I toured with the realtors in the area, I had no idea there was a public path here, and frankly, no one would go there unless they were specifically told that it is a public access. And I could imagine that I have privilege entering into something that looks like someone's private space, but I can imagine that members of our community may not have the courage and privilege to go through a space that evidently does not look public. And so this does limit access to members of our community. Furthermore, this is what the path looks like. This does not look like a public path that has been maintained and is safe, nor a path that you could carry a kayak or a paddleboard through. Furthermore, there are grasses that have been planted by Blue Heron condominiums and grow on the public land. There is a boat that obstructs what would be the path in and out for the water taxi and for craft. This is the state of the water access. This is the state of the public ladder, rotten, and this is not a safe access, and it does not look like public property. There's extensive signage to discourage people from using it, and you can see that this line cordons off on the other side of the ladder. So the ladder is here, and this bars it. So, is that my timer?
Just take another minute, yeah.
I would like to contrast that with the public access that is available at the other street and parks, manicured, maintained, and well signed. So specifically, I noted that the staff opinion is that the purpose of this legislation concerns small watercraft such as kayaks and paddleboards. Our understanding is the 1992 plat does not specify or limit the type of craft. It includes all watercraft, including taxis. So I'd like to make that very clear. And the other one is I'd like to I'd like to disagree with the staff opinion that nothing can be done at this time. There is a clear ruling that this is public access. This has been for a long time. And the emergency order was overturned by the judge. Therefore, we can take immediate access to clean the landscaping up, put a sign up, and also work with the harbor master to remove the boats that currently obstruct the access. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to come forward and speak? Please come forward now. State your full name and address.
Good evening and welcome back from vacation. Hope everybody's rested. You're going to need it. This meeting's going to go on a long time tonight, isn't it? My name is Barbara Beeler. I live at 7 Spa Creek Landing, Unit A2 in Eastport. I came to speak in support of the proposal on Wells Creek, on the Wells Cove. I served for 2-3 years as the point person for the Eastport Civic Association. I was the point person for them on the Wells Cove issue. So I had an opportunity to speak before the Port Warden's meeting on this and have heard the issues of constitutionality and taking and anarchy previously. Given what's talked about tonight, I do have one document I would like to share with you. Could you pass? Thank you so much. There is some confusion about the blue boat, as it's been referred to. And what the document you're receiving is has two maps, basically. The first one is the original plat, and it's on the left side. And this is the one that is the legal document. And you will see that there is space for 3 boats, 1, 2, and 3, and then a slight area. I had sort of measured it out at about 6 foot between the slip 1 and the western seawall there. So we have 1, 2, 3 slips. Take a careful look between that, which is the legal layout, and what we have today, which is the current use on the right. What we have is 4 boats, which is the problem. We have, you can see slips 1, 2, and 3, and then instead of the little 6-foot area between the seawall and slip 1, there is now quite a large broad-beam vessel that is tied up there. So the plat says 3 spots, but the reality is 4. The other thing that what I think happened, and this is hypothesis, I don't have any documentation, is that the Blue Heron, if I have 1 more minute, at one point, this area was dredged. I believe the Blue Heron Condom Association paid for the dredging. I suspect that when it was done, then the pilings were replaced. And that's how you have now the space for the extra boat, which isn't there according to the original plat, then 3 slips, and also that the pilings are more cattywampus. They're rotated so that you have one which is now in pretty much the middle of what would be the normal access area into the landing at the headwater there. That's used as a stern line for the blue boat, and it goes way out. It isn't straight back. They don't need that. They could put a spring line in there and solve the same issues of stability. I hope you go ahead and support the Wells Cove issues. It's been a long time. It'd be nice to get this in the rear view. Thank you.
Thank you. Would else like to come forward, please? If you have copies for everyone, just pass them out. You're quite welcome.
I only have one set.
Hi, my name is Andrea Spatrini. I live at 1034 Boucher Avenue, so I am 2 houses down on the water side from the condos that surround the Wells Cove Inlet. I'm here to vocalize my support for continuing to protect the public access and build out from there. My husband and I moved to Annapolis about 2 years ago. What a big draw was the water access, the city overall, and the community. So we'd like to continue to protect that. We had seen that the South Annapolis Yacht Club public access was restricted, and we use that quite frequently for the water taxi, showing others, our family and friends, what a great city Annapolis is and sharing water access. And so now that this small inlet is kind of the only access that's truly available to those on Boucher, it's really important to us to maintaining our sense of community, our access to the water, and really being able to enjoy the city overall. So I kindly ask that you really consider the impact to the residents that don't have the privilege of being straight on the water access, and keeping in mind the reduction in water access, public water access to the area. And again, just focalizing my support in maintaining that and allowing us as common residents that contribute to the community to have that access continued. So thank you.
The South Annapolis Yacht Centre have told us that there is water taxi access in and out of that site. The gate should always be open. So if you ever get there and the gate's not open, call me.
Okay.
Because they promised that they would deliver on that.
That's
Thank
good
you.
to know. Thank you. And yeah, continuing that, we paddleboard and other kayaks. So it's just, there's a lot of our street, all the neighbors are very, very passionate about it and keeping it alive and well, and just, again, not limiting it down any further. So thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to come forward? Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Eric DeBatt, and I live at 1034 Boucher Avenue. I'm here today to show my support for maintaining public water access in Wells Cove. My wife and I purchased our home about 2 years ago, and one of our biggest draws to the area was having even a small section of public water access. Our main water access used to be through the South Annapolis Yacht Club, which you corrected is now still available. So now Wells Cove may be our only access. Unfortunately, now that has come under attack as well. I feel it is important for us and all communities in Eastport to have some sort of water access, whether it be to drop a paddleboard or to catch a water taxi on the weekends. I also feel it is important for this board to uphold the ruling made by the judge ruling that this area is public access and should not be blocked. Thank you for your time in this matter.
Thank you. Anybody else like to come forward on R43-23? Please come forward now.
Can I be added as a co-sponsor, please? And I am prepared to submit an amendment as well. Thank you.
Thank you. I declare the public hearing on R43-23 closed. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Yes, sir. Legislative actions, first readers, beginning with ordinance 0523, Title 22, Adequate Public Facilities, City Code Update.
So move.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No. It's the adequate public facility. 0523.
So you, two noes there. Thank you.
Nay.
On first reader?
Roll call?
That's others, it's not a roll call. Okay.
Please.
Okay. You can speak to the Willows about this whenever you like. With roll call, please.
Sure. Mayor Buckley?
Aye.
Alderman Savage?
No.
Alderman Arnett?
No.
Alderwoman Tierney?
Aye.
Alderwoman O'Neill?
Aye.
Alderwoman Pendle Charles?
No.
Alderwoman Finlayson?
Nay.
Alderman Shannon
Aye.
Alderman Gay?
Aye.
Some extra drama. Huh? Okay, passed on first reader. We'll get to debate this. Thank you.
It is
Mayor.
substantial, but.
Like to refer this to Environmental Matters Committee.
Yep, and we're going to refer it to Rules and City Government Committee. Thank you.
And should it also come to Housing and Human Welfare, because it addresses that? I looked at the legislation.
You got all that, Regina?
Housing.
Rules and Environmental. Mm-hmm.
And the Planning Commission.
Okay. Got it.
Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next on the agenda.
Yes, sir. The next item is O2523, exception to allow public kayak rack pilot program.
So move.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Let's
Mr. Mayor.
refer O2523 to Environmental Matters Committee.
No, please add me as co-sponsor.
Okay. Anybody else? Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Yes, sir. The next item is O2623, Forest Conservation Plan Appeals.
So move.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Refer O2623 to Environmental Matters Committee, Rules and City Government, and the Planning Commission. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Yes, sir. The next item on the agenda is O2823, City Noise Prohibitions and Enforcement.
Is there a motion to adopt O28-23 on first reader?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
Opposed?
Yes.
Thank you.
This is O28.
That's O28-23.
Please refer to Environmental Matters.
Yeah, where else does it go? Where?
Environmental Matters, why not?
And please add me as co-sponsor.
And rules?
And rules. I was just checking.
And that should be me.
Mr. City Attorney, please present the next on the agenda.
Yes, the next item is O3023, Updates and Corrections to Special Residential Parking Districts.
Is there a motion to adopt O-30-23 on first reader?
So moved.
Second.
Second. All those in favor say, Alderman Gay?
I had a question. Is this increasing the economic burden on the on the residents of Bloomsbury Square or lowering? Okay, thank you.
Oh, God, no, it is not.
Okay.
No.
Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Let's refer O-30-23 to the Transportation Board and the Transportation Committee.
Could we also send it to rules, please?
And to Rules.
Can I be added as sponsor?
Thank you. Why does everything go to
Mr. City Attorney, please present the next on the agenda.
Yes, sir. The next item on the agenda is O3123, certain street parking updates and corrections.
Is there a motion to adopt O-31-23?
So moved.
Can we get a second, please?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. We'll refer O-31-23 to the Transportation Board, to the Transportation Committee, and to Rules. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next on the agenda.
Yes, sir. The next item is O3223, short-term rental licenses and regulations.
Is there a motion to adopt O-32-23 on first reader?
So moved.
Second.
Got a first and a second. All those in favor? You guys are running out of energy here. Come on, let's pick it up. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Abstain.
Abstain. Thank you.
I say Godspeed.
Rules.
Refer to rules.
We're going to refer it to Rules and to Economic Matters Committee. Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next on the agenda.
Yes, sir. The next item is resolutions, beginning on first reader, beginning with R 4723, Public Kayak Rack Pilot Program.
So moved.
Thank you. All those, Alderman Gay.
I have a question, maybe even a friendly amendment on the floor.
This first reader? Yeah.
Oh, it's just for, I thought
Yep.
it's resolution.
It's all the first reading.
Okay.
Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
A co-sponsor, please.
I will, yeah, please add me as a co-sponsor and I'll talk to you about an amendment.
Tonight, good. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next on the agenda.
Yes, the next item is R 4823, establishing a task force to study the city's grant programs.
Is there a motion to adopt R-48-23 on first reader?
Yes, so moved.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next on the agenda.
Yes, the next item is R 4923, commission to plan celebrations for the 250th anniversary of the United States of America.
Is there a motion to adopt R-49-23?
So moved.
Thank you. Good on you, Karma. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Yes, the next item is R 5123, fines for violating Annapolis noise restrictions.
Is there a motion to adopt R-51-23 on first reader?
So moved.
Second, thank you. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
Thank you. We'll refer R-51-23 to the Finance Committee. And are we doing rules again or not?
Yes.
Could it just accompany, it's sister legislation to the other ordinance?
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next on the agenda.
Yes, the next item on the agenda is R 5223, Director of Public Works, Burr Vogel.
So motion to adopt R-52-23 on first reader.
So move.
Second.
Second, thank you. All those in favor say aye. Aye. For the man in the suit in the back there, nice. It's
Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Savage.
Could you add me as a co-sponsor?
Sure, it's first reader, so yeah. So you might need to get the suit out again.
Can we suspend the rules?
Are we?
But you look good.
Can we move it tonight?
They don't suspend the rules anymore.
If we have all the votes, can we just move it tonight?
You could motion to suspend the rules if someone would like to pass that.
I'll make a motion to suspend the rules.
I'm sure that suit doesn't come out too much. Yeah.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion to suspend the rules. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Nice. Okay, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second? Yeah.
On second reader.
Great.
To adopt the second.
Great. Roll call, please, or?
You got it. Mayor Buckley.
Aye.
Alderman Savage.
Aye.
Alderman Arnett.
Aye.
Alderwoman Tierney. Aye. Alderwoman O'Neill.
Aye.
Alderwoman Pendle Charles.
Aye.
Alderman Finlayson.
Aye.
Alderman Shandemeyer.
Aye.
Alderman Gay.
Aye.
All right,
Resolution
congratulations. We'd love you to come up and say a couple of words if you like. Yeah, thank you. We appreciate the hard work you are doing.
First of all, thank you for not making me put a tie on again. It's probably been like 3 or 4 years or something like that, so that's awesome. In all seriousness, thank you for the warm welcome over the past 7-8 months that I've been here. It's been great getting to know everyone. Look forward to working with you and just doing great things for our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Savage has a question.
So I think just take note that this is something we actually all agreed on, which is, but also just want to say welcome as a fellow Ward 7 resident and neighbor. I'm glad we have 2 directors now from Ward 7.
Yes. Alderman Tierney.
And I know he's very humble about this, but his first, project that you were assigned on Church Circle, the lights is ahead of schedule and ready to rock and roll.
Right, it might be a couple $100,000 under budget too.
Oh, okay.
We like that even better.
Alderman Pindell Charles.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Anyone who can shepherd 30 people down the Bywater Quarter, 95 degrees on a Sunday afternoon, I had to vote for you.
Ma'am, that was all you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you. All right. Thank you very much, Burr. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Yes, the next item on the agenda is R 5323, FY 2024 Position Classifications and Pay Plan Update.
Is there a motion to adopt R 53-23?
So moved.
Second.
Second, Alderman Gay.
Thank you. Is this what was referred to in the budget process? Because I thought there would be more positions included.
Assistant City Manager.
Yes, this is part of that same process. That same process is ongoing. This particular piece of it, the consultants recommended that we go ahead and move forward with under the existing personnel rules. They are still going to be making recommendations for changes to pay rules and stuff like that. As I noted in the staff report, there are other positions, including this one, that potentially might have other kinds of changes. But this particular piece of it, they recommended going ahead and doing now. So this position still needs to go in front of the Civil Service Board, so that piece remains before it can actually be done, but the legislation is being introduced.
Thank you, Alderman Pindell
I hope
Charles.
that answered your question.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not gonna belabor the point tonight, but I'm looking on this attachment, and there's one position on here that I still remain unhappy about. So I'm trying to figure out whether I should vote for this or not. I'll be quite honest. I'm still unhappy and not satisfied with one of the positions on here.
So we haven't voted yet. Alderman Finlayson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question for Ms. Vicky is the deputy positions that we have. Is the interest in formalizing all the deputy positions to the same level, and is that what this is attempting to do?
My understanding of the work that's being done by the consultants is that they are looking across the entire series, and also at benchmarking salaries, benchmarking payrolls against what exists in other jurisdictions. When we talk about harmonizing, harmonizing sort of covers all of those different ideas. I think that it would be wise of us to assume that they might come forward with a variety of different recommendations, not necessarily, I would not anticipate a narrow range of recommendations from them. I think they're casting a relatively wide net around what do other jurisdictions do, what does our classification system look like, and a variety of other practices in the city related to those. And so, yes, all of those positions are being looked at. And this particular position remains within that broader mix. So there may be other recommendations related not just to this position, but to this position plus any of the others that may still be forthcoming.
Unfortunately, I didn't have an opportunity to meet with the team that we hired to do this, but I had many times expressed my interest in being consistent across the board, particularly as it relates to our deputy positions. So I will look forward to some additional changes coming, even as it relates to this position. So, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Tierney.
Yeah, thank you. Just for clarity, I'm looking at my notes that, during the budget amendments, These were two amendments, if you will, and so I just want to understand what this is saying. Is it and this is the promise that the city manager at the time, Mike Malinoff, said, because of the concern about this one position, he said, you know, we're going to look at that first, and we're going to respond to you first, and he's meeting his promise here. You did look at it first. And so my question is this a final decision on that position? I'm a little confused when you said, no, it isn't.
So
Or are
I
you
think
just
they're
expecting it?
Yeah, I think there are, in some sense, two different potential questions that we're trying to answer. The first, which is what this particular, and by the way, this is my understanding of the situation.
Got it.
So bear that in mind. The first question is, given the existing personnel rules, the existing pay rules, is there a case to be made for a change for this position under the existing pay rules, right? That's what this legislation is about. Second, there is an additional question, not just for this position, but across all of those positions, of are the regs that we have the right ones? Are there other kinds of considerations we should be looking at? What's the benchmarking of salaries? And a whole variety of other concerns that may change, may recommend changes to the rules under which we operate. So under that set of recommendations, this position and any other positions may have some additional changes recommended associated with those kinds of underlying changes to how we look at positions. So how does this position look under the rules that are in place? And are the rules that we have in place the ones that we really want to have? And maybe we should make some changes to them. Does that help?
Yeah, and you know, in fairness, it is reiterated in your staff report under impact of legislation on staffing. You did say it there clearly, so yeah, thank you very much.
It's on first reader. Alderman Pendell Charles.
Yeah.
You have spoken already on the same thing.
Sir.
You have spoken already on this, yeah.
Yeah.
You
And your point
on first reader.
I guess my trepidation on this is coming from even looking at it from an HR perspective. I'm not going to get deep in the weeds. Normally when there's a position and there's an opportunity to look at if it should be upgraded, there's not just one component that you look at. Oftentimes, I know in the school system, there are maybe 10, and they looked at what the county was doing. I think sometimes we get fixated on one thing and we don't get off of that. So that's kind of my problem with this particular position. We're only looking at one component and we're not looking at a plethora of components. So I just want to kind of lay it out there.
Thank you. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Abstain.
Abstain?
Mr. Mayor, would you send it to rules also, please?
Yep. We will send that through to the Civil Service and the Finance Committee and Rules. Anybody else? Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Yes, sir. The next item on the agenda for legislative action on second reader is 0323, 2023 redistricting and revised election wards boundaries.
Is there a motion on O-3-23 on second reader?
So moved.
Second, and we have some proposed amendments from Rules Committee. Alderman Finlayson, you would like to move that?
I think if my memory serves me correctly, many of these are more editorial in nature.
A point of order, Mr. Mayor, there's a summary at the top of the amendment, which...
Actually, our interest was delineating the map that was voted in the majority by the task force. So anything that spoke to anything other than that, and correct me, committee members, we wanted to make it very clear that it is map C that is our
Map C.
unanimous choice.
Right. And we need a motion for that. Yep.
And I'll make that motion that we
Thank you.
support.
Second. Alderman Gay?
I have a question about the time sensitivity of it, and does it have to be voted on tonight? Or can we postpone it?
Yeah.
We can't fully vote through this tonight because the meets and bounds for it have not been created yet.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
Vote on this, and then we gotta come back and vote on the meets and bounds.
Right.
So we'll vote on this tonight.
As basically voting on the map tonight.
Right.
Then we gotta come back and vote on the meets and bounds
And then
descriptions.
adopt as
So it's a
amended and on
two-step.
third reader.
We can do second reader tonight, yes.
Thank you. So, all those in favour of the amendment, please say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
Thank you.
We're done.
This should be moved on second
And then
reader.
we will just leave it
You
there.
need to adopt it on second reader as amended, and we don't have the meets and bounds yet, so we have to do that at the next meeting. That will be amendment number 2.
That's another new thing for me. That hasn't happened yet to me. Thank you.
You're done.
But we can adopt this on second reader tonight.
No. You can't adopt it as amended because you have to make one more amendment, the meets and bounds.
Do we need to
Then we
postpone
can-
final
I'm not
action
here.
until?
Huh? You don't have to do anything. The next action will be on the next
So
agenda.
I picked-
It'll
Be
start
on
with
the next
amendment.
agenda with the meets and bounds. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Although you
The agenda is complete, Mr. Mayor.
All right. It's a lively one. Anything else for good order? Alderman Savage.
I'd have one.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to ask that, since we went by it so quick, R4323, I'd like to ask the city manager's office to expand upon their staff report explanation. It's mentioned that the city does not see a practical way of implementing legislation given existing legislation. I'd like to know exactly why existing legislation prevents action from the city. So if you could please include that in the report. And also, as far as, well, that ties with your last point as far as being unable to implement the or enforce the legislation. I'd just like some more details on all of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Gay.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. I'd first like to thank the Department of the Department of Recs and Parks, as well as the Atlas Farms and Atlas Restaurants. This past Saturday, we had a second farmers market in Eastport. They gave away free produce and free eggs and dairy products. And Annapolis Middle School was also there, and a number of other groups. And very just thankful for everyone's support with that. It was successful. We'll be having photos and all that stuff come out soon, but it was important. Obviously, that's a food desert. It's one of 4 in the county. And so, and then I also want to thank the Parks and Recs Department again, the Finance Department, and the City Manager's Office, as well as Kate, who has been fantastic, for helping out with our back to school drive, which I do every year at Pitt Moyer. This is our 4th year that we've done this, and everything went well. We gave away a ton of uniforms and backpacks, and so I thank those departments for assisting throughout the break.
Thank you. Alderman Pindell Charles.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've been on the council for almost 10 years. And my birthday is in August, and we never celebrate my birthday. So I just want to let everybody know that I had another birthday.
All right. Happy birthday.
69.
Don't look over 27. What was the great quote
vote right if you said vote Juan's age.
Alderwoman Neal.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I would like to talk a little bit about Food Fridays. I've talked about it. It's never ending on council meeting after council meeting. We service city residents only. We are now up to 270 households that are receiving a box each week. I am in desperate need of drivers. I have drivers that are taking 20 boxes at a time. I have drivers that are taking 20 boxes and coming back to deliver 20 more boxes. It's an hour on Friday, and if I had at least 5 more drivers, I could reduce those down to probably a half an hour worth of work for people. We've been graced with a lot of produce, so the boxes are heavy, as Alderman Arnett can attest to, which is fantastic. Our residents are getting more fresh produce than ever before, but we desperately need drivers to continue the program.
So that is on Friday. For anybody watching, please call the mayor's office. Ombudsman will get you to Kamara O'Neill and to the team. Truly appreciate one gratifying hour of driving. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Could I get a motion to adjourn? Could I get a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. I called it.